Risk 2. Portfolio selection and the efficient frontier. An investment made up of a group of assets is called a portfolio. Combining securities into portfolios reduces risk. If we combine two securities, for example, the portfolio's expected return is a weighted average. But the portfolio's standard deviation is lower than a weighted average. Let the return on asset 1 be R1, with expected return, R1, and specific risk, sigma 1. The return on asset 2 is R2, with expected return, R2, and specific risk, sigma 2. Suppose a proportion, W1, of a portfolio's value is invested in asset 1, and the remainder, 1 minus double 1, is invested in asset 2. The formula to calculate the portfolio's return looks like this. This formula shows that the portfolio's expected return is simply the weighted average of the individual assets' expected return. The portfolio's risk is a rather complicated formula that looks like this. Core R1, R2 stands for the correlation coefficient between the returns of the two securities. The correlation coefficient can only be between -1 and +1. So, the portfolio's overall risk is lower than the simple weighted average of sigma 1 and sigma 2. But why does the correlation coefficient act to reduce the simple weighted average? Generally speaking, if two stocks are correlated, they vary together or co-vary, and they mutually cancel out some of the dispersion of outcomes around the mean. But for now, just remember that the overall portfolio risk is lower than the weighted average. The more diversified a portfolio is, the lower the risk that portfolio will have. An efficient portfolio is one that provides the highest expected return for a given amount of risk. Or, to say it another way, an efficient portfolio has the lowest risk for a given expected return. The expected return of all possible combinations of risky assets is illustrated here. Among all possible combinations within this area, the set of efficient portfolios exists on the curved line running between E and F. This line is called the efficient frontier.